Hello, everyone. This is Maya Zahira with Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and we are now live in our Psychic Protection Sanctuary Facebook group. This is our Facebook Live for February 2020, and we have a Facebook Live in this group once a month on the first Monday. So if you're watching the replay, you might be watching this on Facebook or on my YouTube channel, Psychic Protection Sanctuary. If you're watching it there, then just know that you can join our Facebook group. It's called Psychic Protection Sanctuary if you want to participate live. So we have people joining. I want to tell you what our topic is for today so you can get geared up for it. And then we'll do shout outs. How does that sound? So our topic for today is how the dark forces use love against light workers and spiritual seekers. So some of you might know what I mean by that, but some of you might be like, huh? What the heck does that mean? And so I hope that you are intrigued and that I will be able to clarify this for you. So hi, everybody. As usual, go ahead and tell me where you're joining from. And even though I know you, you all don't know each other. So, okay, so before we jump into our topic, let me go ahead and I need to grab something. Okay, I'm going to give a couple of quick announcements. Now that we are in 2020 full swing, I want you to start thinking about whatever topics you would like for me to cover in our free monthly Facebook Live classes. Even if you're watching the replay somewhere, you can post your idea as a comment. So think about, anything in regards to spiritual sensitivity, being an empath, managing your energy, any kind of entity issues, psychic protection stuff, like anything at all regarding psychic protection. What are you dying to know about? Now, keep in mind that this free group, we only go so deep in the free content. And you've probably noticed that most of what we're doing in here is talking about concepts and ideas. And I don't teach you how to clear stuff, how to do all those techniques. And just the reality is that this is what I do full time. Like, this is how I pay my rent on my little tiny humble place that I live. So I do have to charge for some things. I'm sure you understand. So if you are wanting to learn things like how to identify and clear this stuff for yourself or for clients or whatever, then that's in my program, Spiritual Empowerment Academy. Okay. Or if you're needing like a lot of one-on-one work with me, that's Spiritual Empowerment Academy. You can find that on my website, psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. And then under the events tab, you'll find the 12-month Spiritual Empowerment Academy. But with that being said, aside from that, don't be shy. Tell me whatever topics you want me to cover. Don't worry about like, well, is this something that fits into the free group or the academy, the paid group? Don't worry. If it's something that I can't cover in the free content, then it doesn't hurt for you to at least suggest any topics at all that are on your heart that you would like for me to cover. So go ahead and share now. And so let's kind of get used to participating rather than just listening and lurking, right? Okay. So go ahead and give me some hearts. Let's send love out to everybody as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do shout outs, and then we're going to get into our topic, how the dark forces use love against light workers and spiritual seekers. So let me see here. I got to say hi to everybody. This takes just a minute. Megan says hi from Lewisburg, Kentucky. Nicole says hi from Overland Park, Kansas. Hello there. So I was at a psychic fair over this past weekend, and so I'm still kind of getting my groove back and getting regrounded because I didn't get much sleep, but it was really fun. It was a really fun event. It was great, lots of great connections. So we actually have a bit of a shorter, I think it's going to be a bit shorter today. That's probably a good thing because I'm still getting brain cells back, getting sleep, getting rest, getting back on track with my regular schedule after that big trip. So thanks for bearing with me if I seem a little brain foggy, because really what we're going to cover today is super important. Melissa says, hi from Lawrence, Kansas. So as usual, if you're joining, go ahead and tell us where you're joining from so everybody can feel a little bit connected, right? We have a lot of people here. And so even if you're too shy to say where you're from, give us a little heart just so you can share your energy with us. Rhiannon is saying hi from Kansas City, Kansas. So for those of you who don't know, I moved to Tucson, but I lived in Kansas City for many, many years. And so the Kansas City Chiefs just won the Super Bowl yesterday. So I just want to say congratulations to all of you who are watching who are from Kansas City. So just a shout out to all of you. Okay, well, so I'm not seeing any suggested topics for future events. That's okay. I mean, I have tons of topics. I just thought I would check to see what you all would like for me to cover. So if you think of anything as we go, then you can just go ahead and interject. And if it's in the middle of our other conversation, go ahead and type topic, suggestion, or something like that, and then give me the suggestion so I know what you're talking about. Again, I'm a little sleepy today, so like fewer brain cells, so make it super clear for me. Okay. Rhiannon is joining from Kansas City, Kansas. Yes. Good to see you. Okay. Well, let's jump right in. So, if you've been following my Facebook lives for a while, some of my Facebook lives, like I go into all sorts of details and we I have 2 whole pages of notes. That's not the case today, but this is a really potent topic, as I said before. Erica is saying, hello, everyone. I'm in Indiana. Cool. Okay. So, actually what I want to do before I start talking about my notes, I want to just ask you all, because you might already have the answers. You might already be able to kind of use deductive thinking to figure out what the title of this video is really talking about. What do you think it means when I refer to the dark forces using love against light workers and spiritual seekers? What do you think that means? Okay, and again, don't be shy. There's no wrong answers. Start typing now because there's always a bit of a lag. Tell me, what do you think it means when I'm referring to the dark forces using love against light workers? Okay. Hi, everybody. We have a lot of people watching, so good to see you. So what do you think that I mean? And I'm going to just sit here and wait. But while I'm waiting for you all to give comments, because I got to dig my heels in. I'm not going to go further into the content until we get some sharing and ideas. Okay. I'm going to be the mean teacher right now. I'm going to make you participate. So a couple people will need to respond before I tell you what it is, what this topic is really all about. While I'm waiting, some of what I'm referencing is in my book. And so I just want to show this now since we're waiting. Darkness Disguised as Light, The Hidden Truth About Psychic Protection and the Illusion Matrix. And that's by me, Maya Zahira. It's on Amazon. That's the only place where you can get it, on Amazon. And if you have Kindle Direct, I think it's Kindle Direct or Unlimited Kindle or something like that. Kindle Unlimited, I think is what it's called. You can read it for free. Or you can get it for just a couple bucks on Kindle, or you can order the hard copy, which is a little more expensive. Okay, y'all. Okay, we've got someone who answered. Yay. Thank you, Megan. You know what? Megan gets extra brownie points. If I had brownies and you were here, I would give them to you, but I don't have brownies. But I'm going to give you some love right now. Megan is saying, it brought up boundaries for me. So about what this topic is about. It brought up boundaries for me for some reason. If we are supposed to be all light and love, boundaries can make me feel guilty if that makes sense at all. LOL. Yeah. Okay. So she's on the right track. So if you were kind of stumped by what the topic is, now that she has started, now that Megan shared, now what do you think? Rhiannon says, working against ourselves in negative ways. Yep, that's one thing that's happening. I think Megan is laughing about, she's giving laughing emojis. I think about me saying I'm going to be the mean teacher. You guys, if you didn't know this, 30 years ago, I was an elementary school teacher for a couple of years. And so like sometimes I had to put on, like if the kids were being really bad, I had to put on the mean teacher persona. So like I joke about that sometimes. I was lifetimes ago, 30 years ago, you guys. Rhiannon says, blocking our good energy with bad. Okay. Possibly. Depends on what you mean by that. Oh, and I missed Erica. Erica says, bad energy working through people pretending to be good. I'm not sure on this. Yeah. So that's more like that's not quite what I'm talking about today, but it's kind of like, it's related. It's related, but not quite. Okay. So, Megan was the most right on about this. The way that love, so there's two ways that there's two like directions that we can go with this, with how love is used against light workers by the dark forces. So one of the ways is through, I'm going to make a note so I don't forget, because remember I said I'm really sleepy today. I would probably space out and forget what I'm going to say. So bear with me, you guys. Teachers, teachings and, okay, thanks. I knew I'd forget what I was going to say if I didn't write a little note right there. Just keeping it real, everybody. Yeah. Like that's how, by the way, that's how committed I am to sticking with our Facebook lives and our classes and everything, that even on a day when some people would say, you know what, I'm just too tired. Like, you know, it's not like they're my paid program people. It's just the free group. Like, no, you guys, I am like so committed. Like I'm here. I might not look tired, but man, okay, there's like 5 brain cells floating around in there, like super sleepy. So, but I'm here and we're going to cover this. Okay. So there's 2 basic directions that we can go with this, with how how the dark forces use love against light workers. The first direction we can go is regarding misguided spiritual teachings and behaviors within spiritual communities. And these misguided spiritual teachings and behaviors are really guided by the dark forces. And those by misguided spiritual teachings, I'm talking about like the misapplication of teachings like we are all one. We're all one, and therefore like we all just love each other, like no matter what. No matter what's happening, like, and so then what ends up happening, and I observe this a lot, what ends up happening when people end up misapplying these spiritual teachings that are just so like predominant, they're just like everywhere in spiritual communities, this whole idea we are all one and we have to like save each other and help each other, and I'm pro helping people, but then when it's misapplied, then it ends up being codependency. And by codependency, I mean like trying to save people who are in these feedback loops of toxic behaviors. And then the light workers who are trying to save people and trying to be like, oh, we're going to be all love. Like they end up getting sucked into these like vortexes of people who are in like negative loops. So rather than these light workers being able to like really make a grounded, clear, significant difference in the world, they're getting sucked into like the lives of people who are energy vampires and misdirectors, like people who are throwing them off of their life path. So this whole like really popularized spiritual teaching of we are all one, and like you have to just love unconditionally. By the way, I believe in love. I'm not anti-love. I love love. I think it's an amazing thing. Every day I try to practice love. But this misdirected use of it is actually encouraged by the dark forces. It really is. It is intentionally encouraged. And so all these light workers and spiritual teachers, spiritual followers and spiritual seekers, and even people who don't consider themselves to be spiritual seekers, just people who are, who have a lot of light, who are bringing a lot of light into the world, they end up getting sucked into these scenarios with light suckers, like people who are just like, sucking, energy vampires, people who are sucking all of the love. So if all these people are being encouraged to like love no matter what, then they end up engaging in these codependent behaviors. Okay. Now the difference, so like the positive way to do this instead would be, yes, we are all one, and yes, we are to love one another and love unconditionally, but also we need to have healthy discernment and boundaries and not engage in situations where our light is getting sucked away. Like literally, if you want to think of it this way, in this simplified way, like when love is being used in this way as a negative way to harm light workers and keep them off their mission, imagine that the dark forces are like sending agents, like people who are not very aware and easy to manipulate, to bring drama and just like clouds of dark energy. And then if you have been indoctrinated with this idea that like, oh, love, we gotta love everyone. If there's this meme that goes around that says like, if you just love someone enough, then they will heal and change. That is codependent right there. It keeps all these light workers sucked into these unhealthy scenarios instead of really shining forth with their life purpose. Now, I want to be clear again. I already said this, but I want to say it again. I believe in loving people unconditionally, but it needs to be, I'm going to change that. I believe in loving people unconditionally and paired with discernment, healthy boundaries about regarding to what level you are willing to be involved or to save the person or people. Okay. It's like you can love them from afar. Like all of these love teachings end up encouraging enabling sorts of behaviors where there's like whole communities of people who are just like enabling and codependent. And so it's this whole toxic feedback loop that happens. So does any of that make sense? So that's the first direction that we can go with this. That's how the dark forces are using love against light workers in order to misdirect them and just get them like chasing their tail, or just running in circles and not actually grounded into their actual life mission. Okay. So share with me. We have the other direction that we're going to go as well, but thoughts on that. Is this giving you any aha moments? Can you relate to anything that I'm saying? Years ago, I used to be very, very codependent, so I understand about it. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I've been doing some of that, there's no shame in it. Like, codependency is basically like so much of our culture is codependent, not just the spiritual communities. Think of like almost every love song out there is basically encouraging codependency in relationships. So it's like the whole world is getting blasted with these codependent ideas. So I encourage you to not judge yourself if you've been engaging in any of that. But my intent is to help you understand that it is possible that you could be intentionally being thrown off of your life purpose by getting like sucked into these little like drama tornadoes or whatever, where you're attempting to follow that spiritual teaching of, oh, you know, we are all one and we, you know, love everyone. But what that really means is try to save people. And what that means is codependency. Okay. So again, forgive me if any of that didn't make sense. I'm working on limited brain cells right now. But is there anything that didn't make sense, or any way, like any area that you need clarification on? Anything you want me to re-explain in a different way? Can anybody relate to this? Okay. And Erica is saying, oh, I see what you're talking about now. Now, keep in mind that I'm a clairvoyant. I can see things happening in the spirit world. I'm a claircognizant. I know things that are happening spiritually. I'm clairaudient. I can hear things. I'm clairsentient. I can feel things in my body. So, and I work with a lot of clients who are having entity issues. So what I'm saying is not like just based on some random idea. Like, this is something that I see. Not only do I see individual things going on with individual clients, but over the years, and even as I was writing my book, what I was seeing was okay, let me back up and say, like, if working with my clients is like the microcosmic aspect of the dark forces, like there's one-on-one thing, there's things happening with this person or this person or this person or this little situation. But on the macrocosmic scale, so like on the broader scale, there are larger agendas going on. And the larger agenda is to keep, I'm using the term light workers, like people who've come to the planet to do some important work for the benefit of the world. Okay. People who have a lot of light. Well, we all have light, but I think you know what I mean. The larger agenda is to keep those people off track. So using love is one of those ways. Now I'm going to just side tangent right now. Another way that the dark forces will keep light workers off their mission is by sending those light workers, is by repeatedly sending those light workers abusive relationships or relationships with partners who are entity infested or infested with demons. Okay, that might sound really far out there, but remember, I work with a lot of clients and I'm clairvoyant, and so like this is firsthand experience. I've seen this. Again, that's a tangent, that's off topic, but I wanted to explain that using love against light workers is not the only way that they will try to throw people off of their course. That's another way. There are several other ways. And if you want to read more, look at my book, Darkness Disguises Light. Okay. I'm not trying to plug my book, by the way. I want to give you like a little behind the curtain. I want you to know I don't make hardly anything off of my book. Okay. So I don't want you to think like, oh, she's on here doing a free video. She's trying to like make money. If you've ever self-published, like you make like a couple bucks or something for a book, is like almost nothing. Okay. The reason why I wrote this book is that it's a labor of love. I wrote it because I want to get this information out there and help people. And I want you to all know this stuff. So I'm going to hold up the book again in case you need the visual, in case you want to go deeper and broader with what we're talking about. So Darkness Disguised as Light, the hidden truth about psychic protection and the illusion matrix. And it's on Amazon, and I mean, you can get it for just a couple bucks. Okay. All right. So let's go the other direction. We have another comment from Erica, and she says, you don't want to set yourself up to be a doormat. Exactly. That's a simple way to put it. Yeah. you know, when we look at it in simple interpersonal terms, then yeah, we're looking at codependency, we're looking at people being a doormat, and people just getting thrown off track in their lives. There's also the paranormal aspect, that there are negative forces that exist that really are not working for the benefit of humankind and the planet. Okay. There are good forces as well, but there are negative forces. Okay, you all ready for the other direction that we're going to go with this? And I think you'll find this other direction very interesting. Give me a couple of hearts if you're ready for the other direction that we're going to go. Give me some hearts, you guys. Let me know you are alive. You're all so quiet today. Oops, I'm going to get a drink because I'm just going to wait for those hearts until I go on. Okay, and remember, oh yay, there's some hearts. Thank you. Remember, if you think of any topics that you would like for me to cover in future Facebook Lives, then let me know. Okay, and it needs to be related to psychic protection in some way, whether it's managing your energy or psychic attack or entities or paranormal, things like that. Okay. Okay, yay, thanks for the hearts, you guys. It's like I want you to be like a little more active, okay? All right, so here is the other direction that we're going to go with this idea of the dark forces using love against light workers and spiritual teachers. You might want to write this part down. Okay, because you may not have heard about this before, and this, if you haven't heard about it before, it might blow your mind. There is something that one of my past mentors, and this is something that I talk about in my book. I go a lot deeper into it so you understand. Actually, it's in a section. Oh, we lost our connection there for a second. And you know, that usually tells me that we're onto something really big, that like, there's some forces that wanted to disrupt things. So hopefully we won't have any more disruption. So, okay, I think we're all set. So there's a section in my book where I think that chapter or section is about 2 signs that entities are plugging into you. And that's where I talk about spiritual anesthetic. So one of the signs that a negative entity is plugging into you is that you will suddenly feel very sick or disoriented. Or, so this is a little bit off track. I'm going to get to the love part in just a second, but I'm giving you the whole picture. So if a negative entity is plugging into you, then you'll feel sick. You might feel disoriented. You might feel dizzy. You might feel nauseous, stomach cramps, chills, that sort of thing. You might feel like you suddenly have a fever. And that is a result of your body. Your body is responding to the fact that it's experiencing a sudden drop in your personal vibration. When your vibration shifts really, really quickly, and it can also, this can happen if you shift up too quickly. If you do a spiritual clearing and clear out a bunch of junk, you might feel like you have the flu. Okay. But it's also can be a sign that there's something negative plugging in. So anytime there is a major shift in your personal vibration, whether you're going up all of a sudden or way down, then you might feel sick. That's very, very common. And I actually have a personal story, something that happened to me when I went into a metaphysical shop. I can't actually share that here in the public forum, but I'm going to tell you in just a couple of minutes where you can go to hear this story about how I went into this store and something tried to plug in and I immediately had stomach cramps. My whole book, Darkness Disguised as Light, though, is a whole story about how I went to a spiritual teacher for a session, for a consultation, and then a group class clearing healing thing. And I experienced that. I got really sick afterwards. I had stomach cramps. I had a fever. And it turns out that they're actually, I didn't know at the time. I thought, oh, I must be having a spiritual upgrade. No. Actually, what happened was an entity, the entity that was working through her connected to me. And it was trying to hook in. But let's get back to love. So one of the ways that you might have an indicator that a negative entity is plugging into you is that you feel suddenly sick. Okay. Some people already know about that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But the other one that people don't even know at all, so many people don't know this, that another indicator that a negative entity is attaching to you is that you are suddenly filled with feelings of love, bliss, like you're totally blissed out and you're just like, you just feel like, it's like all of a sudden you just feel love. It's more than just normal grounded love. It's like this blissed out kind of love. Okay. And a lot of times when people go into that, let's say they're at a spiritual event and it turns out that that spiritual event has been hijacked, that the people putting on the event they just simply don't have the discernment and they don't know. And so the beings that they're calling in or channeling or whatever are not who they say they are. And so then this negative being pretending to be light, darkness disguised as light, false light entity is then attaching to all these people. And then all of a sudden they're all blissed out, just filled with love. And they're all like, oh, this means that we're raising to higher vibration. No, it's actually the dark forces using love against light workers. Okay, so it's an example of spiritual anesthetic. When all these people are getting tapped into and plugged into, and these energy cords are getting hooked in, and suddenly they get this rush of bliss and love, blissed out love. It's like when a tick actually latches on to somebody and it starts to feed. It actually also emits, I don't know the name of the chemical, you could probably look it up. The tick emits this chemical that's a numbing agent, and it makes it so that your body, like, you don't feel any pain there. You have no idea that this tick, and it's the same thing with leeches. Leeches do the same thing. Leeches are gross, or ugh, yuck. They're way bigger than ticks. You go swimming in a lake or something that has these things, and you have no idea when you get out that you've got one or two on you. Thank God I've never had that happen. I've never had any leeches on me, but it emits a chemical. So like it can just continue to feed freely until you happen to notice that it's on you. Okay. It's the same. It's similar. It's a similar idea, except in this case, with this spiritual warfare, these light workers are being blasted with this blissed out love. And it's very convincing, like so convincing that people don't even guess that it's coming from a negative force. Like, unless somebody's super discerning, or unless they've already heard about this phenomenon, like they all get sucked in. Okay. So that is how the dark force, that's the other way that the dark forces use love energy against light workers. It's used to throw them off. Now, again, I want to be super clear that feelings of love are not bad. I'm talking about blissed out love, where like you almost feel like you're on drugs or something. Okay. a grounded, centered love, compassion, where you're really present with yourself and you're really present with another person, whatever they're experiencing, or you're just, maybe there's no one else around, but it's just you, and you feel very calm and grounded and present and connected with your spirit, and you feel like your heart opens and you feel joyful. That's a good thing. Okay. But what I'm talking about is the blissed out love. And you may or may not have, I'm going to sidetrack myself. You may or may not have experienced this when you've gone to a spiritual event. And I'm not against all spiritual events. I'm just saying that that's a very common place where that happens, because there are people gathered together. It's a place where there are a lot of easy targets who are indoctrinated into this idea that we are love, we are all one. And there's another false indoctrination going around, and that is that there is nothing to protect yourself from, because we are all love and we are all one. And that's so common. You step into a spiritual event, wherever it might be, and there's all these people who've been indoctrinated into that. And so it's a room full of easy targets. And so, it's actually easier for dark entities to blast people with love rather than, so to blast them with love, this spiritual anesthetic, it's more effective for them to be able to plug in. Whereas plugging in and not doing that, the natural effect would be that if they didn't have the anesthetic happen, the spiritual anesthetic happen, then they would feel sick, like the stomach cramps or the headache or the dizziness, vertigo, etc. Okay. So keep in mind that if there's negative beings attaching, it can either be you feel very unwell all of a sudden, or you feel love. And people who don't know any better will think, well, but how, I'm feeling love. Like, how could that be a bad thing? In fact, I was on a radio show right about a year ago, I think. And it was my impression. I'm not sure, because I didn't follow up with I didn't have a follow-up discussion with the radio show hosts. But when I talked about spiritual anesthetic on their radio show, their response, I don't think they believed me, because they said, well, but how could love be a bad thing? Like, surely, that's not a bad, you're not talking about all these spiritual events that we go to where we feel so much love. Like, that's not what you're talking about, Maya. Like, they just really didn't buy it. They didn't believe me. And so they were trying to explain it away. And that's fine. Like, not everyone wants to believe it, but this is something that I've seen so many times. So that's why I'm sharing it today, and I want you to be aware of it. So before I go into the next part, what do you all think? Like I said, this little part about the spiritual anesthetic, it might have blown your mind a little bit, where you're like, oh crap. Because you know what? I used to go to events like that where I would get all blissed out. I didn't know any better. You don't know what you don't know, but now you know. Okay. So do you want to share? Do you want to share any experiences that you've had? Any questions that you have? Any aha moments that you might be having around this? So while I'm waiting for your comments to come through, I want to just tell you that, about a way that you can go deeper. I mentioned a few minutes ago about a personal experience that I had, excuse me, where I walked into a metaphysical shop and there was something that tried to hook into me that was actually a false light entity pretending to be, it was pretending to be an alien council, a spiritual, giving spiritual messages to the people coming into the shop. And I know this because I'm clairvoyant, I'm clairaudient, I'm clairsentient, etc. All the clairs. I have all the clairs. And so the first sign that something was wrong, where actually it wasn't the first sign, but that you'll hear about this if you hear the whole story. But one of the signs was that I went to bed and I woke up feeling so sick, and I immediately knew that that entity was trying to plug in, and I had to clear it. But if you want to know, if you want to hear that whole story, because again, there's certain stories I can't share in the public forum, not yet, because they're either too personal or it's too soon. It's something that has happened really recently. And so if I were to share it publicly, it would, I go out of my way to make sure that I don't identify people, right? That I don't identify people in my community, because that's not what this is about. So because of that, I have to wait a certain period of time before I share stories publicly. And so if you want to hear about my private stories, that these psychic protection things that are in my world that I'm seeing and experiencing firsthand, but I can't talk about them yet. These are things that are going to end up being in my second or third book, because by then it will be enough time lapsed and I'll change a few details so those people aren't identified. But if you want to hear about those stories now, and you want to hear about stuff that I feel is too fringe and way too out there to talk about in my free group, then I encourage you to check out my Psychic Protection Insiders group. This group, well, right now, today is like February. What date is it? It's February 6th today. So it's beginning of February. This is, we've just launched it February 2020. I don't know how long we'll have this group, but it's going to be going for a while. And it's $12.99 a month. Literally $12.99. Like, that's it. And we have a Facebook Live. We're going to have a Facebook Live later tonight. And I'm going to share that story that I've given you little tidbits of, and as well as another story. And I'm also going to talk about two really fringe topics that are too out there to talk about on my free group. So you can find that on my website, psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. Under the events tab, you'll see $12.99 a month Psychic Protection Insiders. And just sign up for that. And it's a 3-month minimum. Okay. So now I gave you that blurb because some of you I know want to go deeper. So you can find out more by reading all the details on there. So we've got some comments. Let's get back to our discussion. Erica says, this makes me think of the men I choose. I don't believe I've been in a solid, grounded relationship yet. My past relationships have sucked the life force out of me, but I'm not gone yet. I'm leaving. I think a word got left out, but I'm not gone yet. I'm not leaving this planet yet. Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. We're glad that you're here. Yeah. And that's definitely one way that people can be thrown off course. Another way that light workers can be thrown off course, spiritual seekers, etc., is to be sent energy vampires, people who are energy vampires, or people who are, high drama people, that's just like sucks all your time and attention away all the time, keeps you off of your actual genuine course. Melissa says, sometimes are the love feelings, angels, spirit guides, etc. I'm so glad you asked that question, Melissa, because I bet you anything there are a bunch of other people that have this same question. Now, here is what I know to be true. So here's the distinction. If the feeling is really ungrounded and it is a blissed out feeling, blissed out love, like, oh my gosh, wow, so amazing. That is not your angels. That's something else. And if you imagine times that you've been in that state. Imagine it again and kind of feel into it, and you'll know that you were kind of disembodied when that was happening. Like you weren't in your body. You were like out here. Okay. So the distinction is that if you're totally blissed out and you're like disembodied, as opposed to the kind of love where you feel grounded, embodied, clear, heart expanded. So grounded, centered, clear, your heart feels expanded from within, from here. That's your angels, or that's your own energy, your own heart opening up. It could be your angels, it could be a loved one with you, but it's very embodied. Okay, that's the distinction. Disembodied, out in la la land, feeling like you're kind of drugged out, blissed out, as opposed to embodied. Okay, so now that you know this, you'll be checking in with yourself and asking, does this feel embodied and grounded? Or is this taking me out of myself? Because that's the idea, is to disembody you at least partially, because it's easier to plug in. Okay. Now this phenomenon is it's extremely common. So it's shockingly common, actually. And so when you go to spiritual events, now you'll be able to practice tuning in and discerning what it is that you're feeling. And speaking of that, as you're developing that discernment, everybody, when you go to events, because I think it's great to go to events, it can be enriching and nourishing and connecting and all these and expanding and all these wonderful things. But there are quite a lot of events where the facilitators and the participants, they just simply don't know about this. They don't know. There's so much hijacking going on. And again, if you're not really sure what I'm talking about, I would encourage you to read my book, Darkness Disguised as Light, because it really explains it in a more comprehensive way, like why I know what I'm talking about. But when you go to these events, and if you start to have a feeling that like something isn't right, like I am feeling really the way that Maya was talking about, that blissed out, kind of drugged out sort of feeling, then I want you to give yourself permission to step out, go to the bathroom, or step outside and see and kind of get regrounded, and then see what you feel from there. Or if you're really certain when you're in the event and you're like, yeah, I'm certain this doesn't feel right to me, I want you to give yourself permission to leave. This is something that I had to practice. I had to put it in action a couple of times years ago when I first came to learn about this. There were a couple of events that I went to, and they were put on by colleagues where I used to live, and everybody was like having this amazing time. And it seemed like, in theory, it seemed like an amazing event. And I realized, ooh, like there's something wrong. And as a clairvoyant, I saw this portal open up and all these entities were coming through, and they were not angels. Okay. And so I left. I quietly exited. I want to encourage you to understand that you don't owe anyone an explanation. And I want you to release any worry that you might, like maybe it's rude to leave. Like, release that belief. It's not rude to take care of yourself. You can gracefully exit. You don't have to tell anyone why. You can make up an excuse. You can say, I need to be somewhere else right now. Like, you don't owe anyone an explanation. You could, like, that's an honest answer, but you don't owe them any specifics unless you feel like you can share it with them. But thing is a lot of people, when you tell them this sort of thing in the moment, they're in that hooked in energy. And so they're probably not going to believe you. Okay. I've learned that the hard way. When you try to tell people in the moment, they just think you're wackadoodle. Okay. They're not going to believe you because that energy exchange is already happening. So it's up to you to just take good care of yourself. And if you're not sure, if you're like, well, I'm not sure, is this good or not good? You know, I'm going to take good care of my energy and I'm going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to go to, I'm going to go home, or I'm going to go to something else. And, so it's up to you to take good care of yourself. The reality is that I think that when we go to a spiritual center or a yoga studio or a spiritual event or something, like, we have this belief, this assumption that whoever's putting it on, they know how to protect our energy and that they know more than we do. And they may very well know more than you about certain things. And that's why they're a teacher or a leader, facilitator. But the fact that you are in this group, some of you've read my book, some of you have learned psychic protection from other people, you have more of an awareness of this sort of thing than probably a lot of the spiritual teachers. Okay, at this point, as I'm doing this video, that is the case, that most colleagues that I run into and that I talk to don't really have an understanding yet to this degree of what we're talking about. And so it's important to understand that don't put your safety in their hands. Don't assume that they know how to do that. I tell some personal stories in my book about times that I did that, and I assumed that, like, well, surely, I mean, they put on retreats regularly. They know how to keep everyone's energy safe. Nope. There's a story that I tell in the book that I call the retreat from hell. It was so horrible. So keep that in mind, you guys. So it takes practice to develop this discernment. Let's see. Okay. That was a great question, Melissa. I'm so glad that you asked it. Erica says, I'm not leaving this planet yet. There's still time to get it together. Yeah, there's always time. We're always learning and growing. Melissa says, that makes so much sense. Yes. Melissa says, I think I had a blissed out experience that was grounded. I felt Kundalini energy and chakras opening in a yoga class. Yeah, you bring up a good point too. So it is possible to be embodied and to feel bliss within the body. And the fact that you had that experience during a yoga class when you were doing asanas, physical movements, that does feel to me like it was more a genuine bliss experience. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. Let me read the rest of your comment. Okay, in a yoga class, but things felt more spacey, but my body felt the bliss too. I hope it wasn't actually false light experience because it was a pretty life-changing moment that I see as what opened me up spiritually. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not actually going to read I'm not going to psychically read your situation to determine yes or no, which it was. But I will reiterate that, most of the time, if you are feeling spacey, blissed out, disembodied, then that's definitely a sign. Okay. That's definitely a sign of something negative plugging in. In your case, and I also want to specify, I've been in yoga studios before where there's been false light entity activity. So yoga studios are not automatically a safe zone. So that's important to keep in mind, everybody. But I think that's an interesting experience that you had. And I would say this, going forward to intend that all of your experiences be as grounded as possible. Because the fact that it was really spacey too, I don't know. I kind of feel like that was a negative indicator. Now, that doesn't mean that it didn't create a genuine awakening for you. Okay. And again, I'm not going to go into a deep reading about it. But we can always talk later if you want to. Okay. But that's a really interesting experience that you brought up. Karen says, is Kundalini energy attached to negative entities? In your opinion, is it embodied? Oh, Karen, you guys have amazing questions. I wouldn't have even thought I wasn't even going to bring up Kundalini. Yeah. Oh, and my mind is thinking of all sorts of things right now. So I don't believe that a Kundalini experience in and of itself indicates negative entities. However, it can. There are a particular type of being that I'm not going to go into right now, that like part of their MO that they do is to activate people's Kundalini energy and to feed off of that. Okay, so that is a thing that is really common. However, that being said, your Kundalini is actually part of a natural energy process. So it's kind of like, let's see, what would I describe this to? I don't know if I have enough brain cells to think of an example, but it's like Kundalini just is what it is. Okay. It's part of your energy experience. However, there are negative beings that do purposely activate that so that they can feed off of it and do all sorts of other things. Okay. So that's important to keep in mind. So I may have created like more questions than answers for you all now that your heads are probably spinning. Like I said, when I started to talk about this part, I was like, yeah, your minds might be blown by this part. So yeah. And your Kundalini question, it also brings to mind a topic that I'm going to be talking about later tonight in a couple of hours in the Psychic Protection Insiders Facebook Live. That's the $12.99 a month group. And we're going to talk about, I don't want to give too much away, but we're going to talk about a very popular idea right now in the truth movement, I'll call it, to completely remove a particular part of your energy anatomy. And we're going to talk about that and whether that is a valid thing or not. Again, so tempting to tell you exactly what it is, but I'm not going to. Megan says, I'm guilty of making that assumption. Yeah, I mean, really, if you don't know any better, you don't know any better. So now you know. Now you know more. Now you can work on developing that discernment. Melissa, spacey might not be the right word, actually. Dreamlike. Okay. Yeah, dreamlike, but in a sense that falseness was more stripped away and reality more present, if that makes sense. Yeah, it does. Actually, dreamlike rather than spacey. When you said spacey, yeah, that made me a little bit nervous. Like, yeah, that doesn't feel good to me. So, and like really being there. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, I'm really glad that you shared your experience, and you all have had amazing questions. Let me see. I think that's it. Last chance for questions, you guys. I imagine that some people watching this replay might have some interesting questions as well. It may have blown your mind. Maybe it has made you feel worried about some things, and my intent is not to worry you. It is to help you. So I'm always available for questions around this topic, and you can post any questions here. One thing that I've noticed, though, with Facebook Live replays, if you post comments or questions for me, sometimes they get buried. So be sure to tag me, Maya Zahira, if you're asking me a question, and then I'm more likely to see it. Or if I never answer your question, reach out and message me or something, because again, sometimes they get buried in the live comments. I wish that wasn't the case, but sometimes it's hard to find all of those comments. Looks like we have a couple more comments coming through, and before we get to those, just a reminder that you can go to my website, psychicprotectionsanctuary.com, and there's a whole bunch of freebies on there. Under the events tab, you can also learn about my 12-month paid program, Spiritual Empowerment Academy. And that's very comprehensive. Like, that has support, like that's a support group. That's where you learn how to identify and clear this stuff. And you also develop your psychic skill sets. Like, it's super comprehensive. And then there's also the $12.99 a month, like little side tangent, which is where that's this Psychic Protection Insiders group. That's where we go into content that's more fringe than we do on here, and also personal stories that I really can't share publicly. And lastly, go to Amazon. This book is so cheap. I mean, you can get it on Amazon, Darkness Disguised as Light. It's going to really help you understand this topic a lot more. It's going to fill everything in a little bit more if you're feeling like you need more. Okay. Megan is saying, topic suggestion. I want to learn more about Kundalini. I'm new to it and it's fascinating. Okay, so I will definitely consider that topic. Kundalini in general is not really going to fit in with the psychic protection topic, or the our theme here in the group, but I will think about doing a video where we talk about psychic protection relating to Kundalini experiences, because that would fit. So I'm going to mull that over for a while and we will see what comes. I have a couple of other topics coming before that, but I will definitely put that on the list and we will get to it. Okay, cool. And Megan says, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I think we are all done for tonight. I'm going to take my dinner break, and then in about an hour and a half, I'm going to hop on and do my Facebook Live with my Psychic Protection Insiders group. It's our first Facebook Live tonight. We just lost our connection again. So it's a private class, and I am so excited. That's why I keep talking about it tonight. I am so excited because we're doing juicy stuff. If you're like, oh my God, how do I join that? And you feel really aligned, it's not too late. You can go in and sign up on my website, psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. Or I will see you next month for this free content. Okay. Also remember, you guys, here's a little free thing for you. If you want to binge watch a whole bunch of videos on psychic protection, go to youtube.com, type in Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and there's like, I don't know, like 75 hours of free content. I don't know. There's a lot of free classes and content on there. So go on there and enjoy. I love doing free stuff, you guys. You're welcome, Megan. And Karen says, thanks. You're welcome. And I think we are all done. Thank you, everybody. See you next time. Sending you all my love.